And we also partnered with the Washington Music and Nightlife Association to generate some leads and get some early commitment. So I'm super excited to say we launched at a reuse festival, an outdoor summer concert series at Woodland Park Zoo. This beautiful picture of yours, which I hope we'll have later tonight. Green Drinks is actually from that initial launch event. And with that launch and with securing a few additional sites, we were able to get our cup, a reuse service provider, to commit to come to town, invest in infrastructure, open a wash facility. So we are actually now gearing up for phase 2. We've had over 20 sites activated, including public schools, great place to start, coffee shops, and music venues. And we've saved over 350,000 cups, just the ones we've been able to measure. And we have 5 active service providers that are up and running in the city, committed to standards, ready to work together to get us in the next phase. And in that next phase, we are going to be focusing on removing barriers and motivating behavior change. So SB is actually working on a small business incubator and grant program, specifically supporting business owners who identify as Black, Indigenous, and people of color. One of those grant recipients is Okapi Reusables, who is focused on the cafe and bubble tea sector. Super happy to report they just signed up their first bubble tea shop in the city a couple of weeks back. So we are super excited that FP is also launching a grant program that McKenna mentioned. We've got $200,000 to help support small businesses with making the switch. And to close out our success story, we just had Moonfield sign up for their music and entertainment center, and they just launched a week ago. So super excited to see that our theory of change becoming actual measurable change, and it's pretty exciting. So we really do feel like as we head into phase 3, we acknowledge that we need all of us in this room working together to transform from a single-use economy to a reuse economy. None of us can do that alone, and I know we all share that vision in Seattle, the Bay Area, and beyond. The future is interconnected systems, the future is public-private partnerships and collaboration, the future is a standardized citywide affordable, equitable, accessible for everyone. We feel super excited for the chance to work with you all to make that future vision a reality, and we're excited to see what questions you have for us before we finally get to lunch.
All right, folks, let's get questions coming from. Do we have anything online yet? David? None yet. Okay, any questions right here on the first floor?
Yeah.
There we go. Hi, again, Miriam Gordon, Story Yourself Project. So exciting, and Stephanie. And a quick question and then another question. So the quick question is at the events, is with the art cup, is it when they launch at the event, is it 100% of the cups are reusable, or is it a portion? Because in San Francisco, we have an events policy that says 10% of the cups have to be reusable, but I'm looking at Stop Waste on the model policy, we're looking at requiring 100% reusables at events. So I guess I'll just limit to that question. Do you think that's realistic?
Yeah, so one thing that we're doing right now, because this is a voluntary participation framework right now, we don't have a policy that requires venues to use reusables for events. We hope to be moving in that direction, but for now, this is something we're facilitating as a city, but really it's a business-to-business relationship. So where our cup is serving or where there's another service provider, it's the service provider and the venue or the event operator that are coming to an agreement about exactly what's going to happen. For the most part, that, and we try to nudge and encourage, but we're not yet in a place where we can dictate what they do. For the most part, because these venues where they're largely using cups is in entertainment venues where they're really only using cups for, bar service, they're largely displacing all single-use cups. But there are some places where there's a mix of items. And so we're seeing that in a few places where they're just able to do the cups reusable, but then if there's other food service where that might still be, recyclable or compost single-use items. Of course, we like to see it be 100%, but we know that there's a path to scale on that. And so we're doing what we can to try to move in that direction. And that's why we started at smaller venues and then proving the concept to be able to scale up and say, yes, this can work and it can work for everything.
I have a question. I'm gonna use my position
The power, yeah, good question, then I want to ask.
I went to an event at the A Stadium, whatever, 5 years ago, and I counted the types of glasses that were in people's hands. And a bunch of them were, there were 9 types of glasses, by the way. But much of it was driven, it seems, by the branding, so that like the Cuervo cup needed to, or the Cuervo needed to come in the Cuervo cup and the Miller Lite needed to come in the Miller Lite cup. So, is that something you're anticipating, or what's your vision on that?
I can jump in there and say we've had a lot of discussions about what's going to be on the cup. And you might have seen in that one picture I showed with the year at the music festival that we launched with that partnership with the Washington Music Association. We created this City of Seattle music cup icon and thought we'd roll it out at all of our sites and felt really excited about that. And then realized that was absolutely causing people to get really excited about taking it home with them. And that was not what we were after. So it is a best practice, and we've been working with all of the concessionaires and all of these large food service institutions to say, you have to make it kind of a little bit ugly, or at least not really cool. Like, this is a situation where you just wanted to say, put it back in the bin when you're leaving, and that's it. Like, put it in the bin, nobody needs to know like any logos, and it's actually working. We're getting consensus to say, okay, I think we're ready to drop, but like every cup needs to have its unique image, which is a real win. So,
I have a question, on the, sorry. I'm Patrice from FFE, and I was just wondering, kind of to that point, what other barriers might have had, as are people maybe like throwing in the trash? I know we've worked a lot with small businesses in San Francisco, and like the theft and the throwing away.
It's a great question. We definitely have at the early events, this is kind of critical when you launch a new site. We actually have, and Ken and I have both done this, we've stationed at the sort of disposal sites, and actually help encourage people and help show them what to do and put it in the right room. I think that's going to be needed until it becomes second nature and we see the behavior change and scale where it's more expected. But currently we actually do have a quick visual audit at the end of the day. There are lots of technology solutions that are tracking the QR codes and will help to quickly be able to just scan a bag of garbage and get them useful help. But for now, it's definitely like an education first and manual first.
I have a question here. Yeah, right here, down here. So
It's really hard. I was like, I'm gonna be so good at this and get up there, but it's actually just really hard. It's so good.
I was just at a concert at the South Center, San Jose, and they had reusable cups, which was great. But then at the end of the show, they ran to the tenant where it was huge, and my friends were like, "We're not waiting, just let's go." So they all took their cups. So what solution do you have for that?
That's a great point. So that's where a lot of places launch with like a technology-enabled program where you're tracking the actual return of the cup. And that's something we really are not doing yet in Seattle. We do just have open bins that are very clearly marked with good signage at eye level and to make it super visual. We're adding like LED lighting for low light venues, but just trying to make the bins accessible and not tech enabled, so you don't actually have to do anything extra to engage. Because that's absolutely a barrier, and you're right, you won't get them back.
Stephanie, Stephanie's right here. Who's got the mic? Wave at him, Steph.
Now Stephanie ID, so that's how we do.
You said there are 5 vendors, third-party providers for the reusables. How did you recruit them, and did you have a certain number in mind? You weren't sure it's not one, but if you want to many, that happens.
Yeah, this is definitely a big part of the approach that we're taking in Seattle, and it's different from some other communities. And I'm excited that there are different cities taking different approaches, because I don't honestly know what's the right approach, and I'm excited to see what's going to come out of it. I think a year or two from now we'll have a better sense. in some communities that are trying to establish sort of a citywide system or an interconnected system, the city is actually contracting with a service provider and saying, you know, we're going to do an RFP process and we're going to select a service provider to provide that support. In Seattle, we've been really intentional that we don't want to be in that role. We want to be providing the ecosystem and, you know, creating the incentives and fostering that activity, but we really want it to be private sector service providers that are coming in and offering this service, and we're just there to sort of boost them and help them along. So what we've done is make it, we're sort of telling anybody we can everywhere we go that we are a city that's open for business for reuse service providers, and we want to be helping those businesses get established in Seattle. So we've just done a lot of that conversational word of mouth networking kind of stuff. And then we also we want to be building towards an integrated standardized system. That's really important to our model. And so we are asking service providers, if you do come to our city and you want to set up shop here, we're here to help you, but we also want you to commit to working towards these, you know, adopting and working under these standards of expectation so that as we get more reuse happening, we can get more integrated. So we've asked them to sort of like sign a pledge to work under standards that are getting established by an organization called PR3. And then once they're registered as a service provider, then we're going out and communicating to our business community, sharing information about which service providers are out there. And we don't have a set number in mind. We'd like as many as there is, you know, appetite to support with, and for the most part so far, they're serving different niches in the market. So they're not really competing with one another. They're just finding their most, you know, appropriate and competitive application. And we're able to direct businesses to the service providers that are the best fit for what they're looking for.
The co-opetition model. Okay, what else have we got out here? Any questions?
Over here. Thank you, this is really exciting to hear. A two-part, if I may. First, do you have any preferences on material types that are reusable? And second, for those who work for local government or large institutions, do you have any recommended next steps to start these conversations internally to, you know, lead up to these reuse systems? Any recommendations on the process to get started?
Yeah, so in terms of materials, I mean, this is gonna be like a whole day section about material choices, right? It's a really complicated question with a lot of really interesting and important discussions underway. Our position as a city so far is to be material neutral, but it's really important that the materials are safe, and that's both in terms of material collection and the way that they're cleaned and, you know, and handled. It has to be safe. The first time something goes wrong with a reusable system, that's really bad for the movement. And so we're really dedicated to making sure that that happens. That's another reason why we're so committed to advancing reusable food service systems in accordance with standards, because those standards are also going to lay out standards around safety in terms of materials and handling and sanitation systems. And so we've got examples of, you know, glass, metal, plastic, everything, you know, is being in use from the service providers that we have. And there are definitely certain, I mean, it's pretty straightforward in music venues. Glass is not an option for music venues, so it has to be something else. And our cup has been using our polypropylene cup that's been working really well in that application. But obviously there are other applications like the school trays. Stainless steel makes so much sense. Metal tends to differentiate that it's not single use. And so I think you can see, likely see higher return rates when a container is really clearly not a single use container, and material choice can help drive that. So I think there are a lot of different options, but we're open to all. And we're just trying to make reuse happen everywhere, because anywhere that reuse is replacing single use, and there's a lot of good data on this. You know, if the system itself is working, if you're actually getting materials back, washing them and getting them back in circulation, that's a win.
Perfect. I love it. That's the perfect way to.